Hello everyone and welcome to Odyssey Recaps, just the Tea edition. Just a reminder that if you'd like a more detailed and in-depth recap, please head on over to my Below the Surface recaps. But if you want something shorter, shallower, and slightly sassier, you are in the right place. Today we're recapping Chapter 4, What the Sea God Said. So we last left off with Telemachus visiting King Nestor in Pylos to find word of his missing father, Odysseus. Nestor had zero info, but suggested that Telemachus go visit King Menelaus in Sparta, who might actually have info. Nestor told his son Pisistratus to go with Telemachus on a road trip to find the truth. So Telemachus and Pisistratus pull up in their carriage to Menelaus's palace to find yet another party rocking away. This one is a double wedding, and they've got acrobats, they've got bards, they've got dancing. It is popping off in this palace, guys. So after Pisistratus and Telemachus have eaten some special wedding barbecue, they're looking around the palace and all the treasures, and they're like, damn, this place is as nice and gold-covered as Zeus's palace in Mount Olympus. And Menelaus overhears them and is all like, no, he's still way better. Don't be blasphemous now, guys. But also, guys, I suffered just so much to get this wealth. I had to kill like so many people. It was hard. Also, I lost a lot of good men. I cry most of the time now, and I'm not even sure if the war was like worth it or whatever. I totally give all the wealth back if I could just have my friends back, especially one guy. He was my favorite. I thought we'd grow old together, but I haven't seen him in so long. His name was Odysseus. He was just the best. So, side note, Menelaus really likes Odysseus, like a lot. And quick disclaimer, same-sex friendships and sexuality itself was very different in the ancient world. And this is one of the times that projecting our own social mores and views onto the past is so unhelpful and incorrect. But it's also fun, so I'm going to keep doing it. But just know it's wrong. We shouldn't do it, but I will. Anyway, back to the story. When Telemachus hears Menelaus talk about how much he misses Odysseus, he starts just like sobbing. And Menelaus is like, oh, damn, I'm just gonna let him cry it out before I ask him anything. And while Telemachus is processing his emotions in a surprisingly healthy way, Helen enters. Now, in case you're not keeping up with the ancient Greeks, let me give you a quick reminder about who this hoe is. Helen is Menelaus' wife, Queen of Sparta, and a daughter of Zeus via swan sex. Now, that's a whole other story. I am not getting into it now. It is too early in the day for bestiality, but if you want to know more, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do a Oops All Swan Sex episode. Anyway, Helen was widely considered to be the most beautiful woman in the world, and she was kidnapped by Paris, a prince of Troy. There's a lot more to this kidnapping story, like goddesses were involved, there was a golden apple, a god-based beauty pageant. There's a lot here, so again, if you'd like me to go into it more in detail, tell me in the comments. But what's relevant to this story is that Helen was kidnapped by Paris. So her husband, King Menelaus, and his brother, King Agamemnon, raised an army made up of a bunch of Greek kingdoms, and they went and attacked Troy to get her back. But they also came back from it with a bunch of riches and slaves, and also destroyed a kingdom that sat in a very important trade route, so, you know, there were other factors at play. Anyway, Helen comes in, she's still fine as hell. She comes and sits down with her husband and is like, yo, who is this crying teenager? He looks a lot like Odysseus' kid. And Menelaus is like, right? He looks just like Odysseus. And then he says, I'm going to quote this for you, Odysseus had hands like those legs, and that hair, that head, that glancing gaze. Like, bruh. But again, keep in mind, male friendship and sexuality were different back then, guys. Anyway, Menelaus goes on talking about how much Telemachus looks like his super hot dad, and he's like, oh, look at those hands and those legs, and like the rest of him too. Also, he started crying when I was talking about Odysseus. Hashtag sus. Telemachus still can't really talk because he's sobbing. So Pisistratus pipes in and is like, yes, this is he, Telemachus, son of Odysseus. He's looking for his dad and is super sad and doesn't have anyone to protect him or teach him to shave or whatever. Menelaus is super excited and super sad. He said he'd always thought that he and Odysseus would get to grow old together. He was going to find a town in his kingdom and drive out the natives and move Odysseus in so they could be together forever in like a colonialist chic way. And I mean, this guy literally just got done saying he's not sure the war crimes were worth it, and now he's planning more. Like, there are other options, bro. Explore the real estate. Check out Zillow or domain.com. There are options. Anyway, this next bit is wild, so just buckle up. They're all getting pretty upset, so Helen decides to mix some drugs into their wine to take all the pain and rage away and bring forgetfulness of every evil. She says the drugs are so good you could see your whole family murdered in front of you and not even care, which, like, odd choice of words, but okay. She tells them that she got the drugs from Egypt, which is where all the best drugs come from, and everyone is super psyched to do some Egyptian drugs. Now, here's where the night just fully goes off the rails. While they're waiting for the drugs to hit, she decides to tell them a super fun story about Odysseus at Troy. She says that one night, while the Greeks were trying to siege, in the middle of their siege of Troy, she found Odysseus in the streets of Troy, dressed like a beggar, and he was creeping through the streets secretly to gather intelligence. Helen recognized him and swore to him that she wouldn't tell the Trojans, so he told her everything he was planning to do before leaving, which, I mean, seems like a huge security risk on his part, but Then she says, on his way back, he used his long bronze sword to slaughter many Trojans, and he brought useful intelligence to tell the Greeks. The Trojan women keened in grief, but I was glad. By then, I wanted to go home. I wish that Aphrodite had not made me go crazy when she took me from my country and made me leave my daughter and the bed I shared with my fine, handsome, clever husband. Like, girl. Aphrodite made me do it as a wild defense, and then the glazing of her husband at the end is just a major overkill. Like, I must have been crazy to leave such a sexy, smart, and sexy man like you, babe. Like, girl. Anyway, also the whole, I heard the women crying in grief, but I was happy because I was over my little Trojan holiday by then. Like, babe, your sociopathy is showing. But that's not even the crazy part, because then Menelaus does something that would have secured him the olive if there'd been a real house husbands of Sparta. Like, this is a move that even Kenya Moore would be impressed by. He pats his wife on the hand and is like, I know, babe. Odysseus was so smart and cool. I remember this one time when we were all hiding in the giant wooden horse. Wait a minute, weren't you there as well? Oh yeah, you came and knocked on the horse and then pretended to be our wives, imitating their voices one by one to lure us out to be slaughtered. Wow, thank goodness we had Odysseus in there. It would have worked and we'd all be dead and you'd still be in Troy with Paris. Odysseus even had to physically restrain Anticlus, who was so desperate to see his wife again. Odysseus had to hold his hand over his mouth while he sobbed and cried until Athena made you stop trying to get us to come out so we could be murdered. Wow, it's so cool that we both have fun stories about Odysseus in Troy. Crazy. Now, Telemachus was super sadly born without the appreciation for drama bone, or maybe the drugs were just kicking in, because he breezes right past all this and just cried about his dad some more and asked to go to bed. And yeah, I get it, he misses his dad, but come on, this is season finale level drama. It's time for you to channel Andy Cohen and exploit this pettiness until people start flipping footstools or whatever. Anyway, they all just stop and go to bed, which is probably a sensible decision, but it was just getting good. I think we could have led to a slap fight if we kept going. Anyway, the next morning, Menelaus hops up, oils himself down, and runs to find Telemachus and immediately asks him, why has he come all this way to find him? Telemachus tells him about the dude bros destroying his home and drooling over his poor sexy mom, and then asks if Menelaus has any news about his father, any news at all. Is he alive? Is he dead? Any info. Menelaus is pissed at the dude bros, and he goes on another rant about how brave and strong and amazing and sexy Odysseus is, and how these dude bros could never measure up to him, and that he hopes Odysseus comes home and kills them all. He has a really good line, though. He does say that the dude bros may all their lives be brief and their weddings cursed, which I think is great. I hope you die and also that your wedding and marriage suck. I think what he probably means is I hope they all die and their lineage is cursed too, but I like to imagine that he's just a petty little bitch and he's like, I hope you're as miserable in your marriage as I am. Anyway, Menelaus says he'll tell Telemachus all he knows, and boy, does he. He launches into a monologue about his own journey home, and normally I say this is just super annoying, but it's actually really interesting. It's a fantastic story, and he tells it pretty well, so I'm going to let him have this one. Basically, in short, he is one of the many Greeks that didn't do the proper sacrificial barbecues before leaving Troy, so the gods got mad and wouldn't let him go home. He was stuck on an island, and his men were starving, and so he went for a little walk by himself, a little power jog. Then he meets a goddess. The goddess feels sorry for him and is like, why are you so sad, baby girl? You've got to get off this island. The island life is not for you, babe. And Menelaus is like, I know, right? But I'm trapped here, and I don't even know which god is trapping me or what to do about it. Please help me. The goddess clearly wants these sweaty men off her island because she tells him that her dad can help him. Her dad is an old sea god named Proteus. Now, if you're coming in here saying, I read Percy Jackson and the god of the sea is actually Poseidon, you are correct. But there are a lot of gods and goddesses in Greek mythology, and there's quite a bit of overlap. So Basically, think of Proteus as a regional manager for this area of the sea, and Poseidon is the Jeff Bezos of like all the seas and also earthquakes, because why not? Gotta diversify that portfolio. Anyway, this goddess is like, my dad can help. He knows stuff. You just gotta catch him. If you hold him down long enough, he'll tell you whatever you want to know. Although bro is a shapeshifter and he will shift through all the animals and also like fire and water and trees and, stuff like that. If you can hang on through all of that, eventually he'll tell you what you need to know. Maybe bring some friends to help you hold him down. Menelaus is like, bet. But how do we even get to him? The goddess is like, Papa Sea God takes a power nap every day at noon in this one specific beach surrounded by a giant herd of seals. And she tells him that if he and his men can hide on the beach and wait for him to fall asleep, they can just like jump out and pounce on him and like grab him and hold him down. Menelaus thinks this sounds great. So he goes and gets 3 strong boys from his ship and they all head to the beach. The goddess comes back and gives them some freshly flayed seal skins for them to wrap themselves in as disguises. Menelaus says they were really gross and they smelled just like terrible, but the goddess gave them some ambrosia, which is like the food of the gods, to rub underneath their noses, which helped with the smell. So they put on their seal skin disguises and she sort of digs them into the sand so they look like sleeping seals, and then they wait. The sea god comes out of the waves and a whole herd of seals come with him, and they all settle down and fall asleep. And as soon as he's asleep, Menelaus and his seal bros leap out and grab him. He changes shape a million times, but they're holding on to him like he's a Prada bag in an outlet sale. Eventually he's like, oh, fine, what do you want to know? And Menelaus is like, who did I offend? How do I get home? And the god is like, bro, you offended literally everyone, especially Zeus. You need to go to Egypt and you need to do sacrifices, like redo them all properly. Maybe get some drugs while you're there. They have some really good stuff. And then you can go home. And Menelaus is like, oh, lame. But okay, by the way, do you know what happened to my friends and my brother? Did they get home okay? And the god is like, oh, your brother is like dead. Saws to tell you. As for the rest of them, some got home, some didn't. Sea life, yo. They run through a few guys. Menelaus is really sad about his brother. But then he asks if the sea god knows about anyone else. And the god goes, oh yeah, Odysseus. He's trapped on an island by a goddess or something. So that's the only part that was actually relevant to Telemachus. And I feel like Menelaus could have just cut to that. But then we wouldn't have gotten to hear about his little revenant moment when he hid in the seal skins with his bros. Anyway, Menelaus finishes by asking Telemachus to stay with him for 12 days. And then he'll send him on his way with some fancy gifts. Telemachus is like, no thank you, the vibes here are weird. And then he's like, I mean, I would love to, but I can't. I have to get back to my pals in Pylos. I will take some gifts though. Which is fair. I think he deserves gifts after having to sit through a drug-fueled passive-aggressive couples fight. So Menelaus gives him a super nice bowl made by the god of metalwork Hephaestus, and then they have one more super quick feast before Telemachus leaves, because the best way to set out on a long and bumpy coach ride is just stuffed to the rim with various meats. Maybe that's what the bowl's for. Anyway, we cut back to Ithaca, where the dude bro suitors are super busy working out together in a field, just pumping iron, shirtless, oiled up. One of the suitors wanders over to the chief douchey dude bro, Antinous, and he's like, do you know when Telemachus is coming back on my ship? I need to go and check on my horses a few islands over. They're pregnant. It's a whole thing. And Antinous is shocked. None of the other suitors knew that Telemachus had actually left the island. They all thought he was just like off in a different field or something. Antinous starts quizzing Boat Bro, and he's like, when did he leave? Did you give him the boat? Did he steal the boat? Who went with him? Did he take slaves? Did he manage to recruit like people, like real sailors even? And Boat Bro is like, no, I loaned him the ship. I feel bad for him. He did manage to recruit sailors. Really good ones too. I guess a lot of people here in Ithaca support him or whatever. Also, I think a god may have gone with him. I saw Mentor out in the ship, but then I saw Mentor here yesterday, so like, I don't know, probably God. Then Boat Bro just casually wanders off. The rest of the dude bros are pissed, especially Antinous, who's all like, ugh, why? This kid is just the worst. Whatever. Oh, let's just go kill him. He decides to get a ship of his own and go and wait in a nearby strait and ambush and murder Telemachus when he comes home. They all high-five each other and go find a murder ship. But the dude bros didn't notice that a slave had overheard them. And the slave runs and tells Penelope everything, all of their planning. Probably about the pregnant mares too. Penelope is horrified. She had no clue Telemachus was even gone. Which, like, yeah, sure, maybe check in a bit more, but he is 20 and she has a lot going on. Don't judge her. Anyway, she's real upset and runs upstairs to her ladies and is like, why didn't any of you disloyal bitches tell me that Telemachus was going on a cruise? Hashtag rude. Okay, but it was a little bit more intense than that. And there's a great line. I'm going to read to you. It says, grief wrapped around her, eating at her. The house was full of chairs, but she could not bear to sit upright. In her bedroom doorway, collapsing on the floor, she wept and cried. Around her, all her women, young and old, were whimpering. Voice thick with tears, she sobbed. Which is fair, because as far as she can tell, everyone around her has been lying to her and hiding info. Her husband is lost at sea, and now her beloved son has gone out on that very same sea to do Lord knows what. And even if her son does make it back home, there's a pack of sweaty dude bros waiting to kill him and force her into marriage. Like, that's a lot. I would also have a diva down moment if it were me. Telemachus' old nanny is like, oh, this is awkward, but I actually helped him go. He made me promise not to tell you though because he didn't want you to cry and spoil your beauty. Which again, hashtag rude, but I'm gonna blame the influence of the dude bros. Anyway, the nanny tells her to go have a bath and pray to Athena, and Penelope's like, a bath does sound good, and heads off. She prays to Athena and is like, please bring my husband and son home. I am tired of this crap. Meanwhile, the dude bros are being gross and talking about how excited they are to kill Telemachus and how funny it is that Penelope doesn't know they're going to kill him, and how once he's gone, they can totally force her into marriage, which is just so gross. Antinous takes charge, and they get a ship and weapons, and they head out to wait for Telemachus to come back so they can just jump him in the ocean and just murder him right there. Back at the ranch, Athena has heard Penelope's prayer and is like, oh, this poor girl, I feel so bad. I am going to do something to reassure her. OMG, I know. I'll send a ghost. That'll fix her right up. So Athena makes a phantom that looks like Penelope's sister and sends her to Penelope's room while she's asleep. Ghost Girl is like, girl, don't even worry. The gods have got your back. Well, some of them. One of them at least. But chill, Telemachus is coming home. He hasn't pissed off any gods. Penelope's like, yeah, I'm still worried because my husband went missing at sea and he's a Giga Chad and Telemachus is just a little baby and there are people actively trying to murder him. None of this is good. And the ghost sister is like, nah fam, Athena's with him. She's literally the goddess of wisdom and strategy. They will be fine. Penelope does some quick thinking and is like, wait, if you're with Athena, can you tell me where my husband is or if he's dead or like whatever? Gods know this stuff, right? Now, ghost sister super helpfully says, I cannot tell you whether he is alive or dead. It is not good to speak of things as intangible as the wind. Which, like, okay, fair. And she couldn't exactly just say, like, yeah, he's stuck on an island, bro. But, like, if Penelope had asked which island, it probably wouldn't make her feel better to know it's the island of a super hot sea goddess named Calypso who wants to bang her husband like a screen door in a high-velocity wind zone. So, yeah, maybe vagueness is best in this instance. Anyway, Ghost Sister isn't hanging around for any follow-up questions and floats off. Penelope does feel a little better, which would be a super nice way to end this chapter. But instead we end on a final shot of the dude bro suitors lurking creepily at a rocky island while they wait for Telemachus to come home so they can do a murder and steal the throne or whatever. Super unsettling. Anyway, tune in next time to see if their murder plot works out.